All right, listen, I picked up the Diamondback HD cover. I think it was the summer of 2021. Let's just call this my 5-year review. It actually might be a 6-year review. I really don't remember, but I have just so many positive things to say about this cover. It's fantastic. It works well. Let me explain to you why you would even get the any Diamondback cover. It doesn't even matter if it's the HD or some of their more lighter duty covers or whatever. Like, why would you make these purchases? For the most part, you are doing it for two main reasons. At least the two main reasons I've been using mine for the last 5 years: security and hauling capacity, okay? First off, security. A thief is gonna be a thief. We all kind of know this. We all know what they are about and what they're gonna do. That's just what thieves do, right? So I'm not saying that this thing is impenetrable. I'm not saying that someone couldn't get into this cover if they really, really wanted to, but it is a very big deterrent. I mean, to have something like, let me just put you out here a little bit more. To have something like this, you got this big cover. The HD version is designed to haul over 1,000 pounds just on top of the cover. And I've used this to put golf clubs inside, highly, like a brand new TV inside, stuff where we bought it somewhere. We're at Costco, we saw a deal, we made the purchase, we put it in my truck, but we got other shit to do, right? And you could put it in the back of this SUV, right? But there's glass and people could break it. And yeah, in theory, it's harder to get into this probably than it is to break through a window. Not impossible, but it is harder. The second thing is hauling capacity. I can't tell you how many times I have decided to leave the lids on my truck, not even go through the hassle of removing them for any reason whatsoever. It's just, I didn't see the need to move them, and just have the delivery person, where they got a forklift. I'm putting, sizable, not too much, not too heavy for my truck bed, but concrete or gravel or trash. How many times I can't tell how many times I put trash up here, furniture pieces, just all sorts of stuff where I told the folks, hey, just slap it up here. I told a buddy, I told a friend, I told my wife, I told whoever, just put it on top of the cover, whatever. I'll tie it down using these pleats. Now, I will say it is extremely important you get these covers with the pleats, because they're almost pointless without it, because they're such good strap areas for you to just be able to use strap areas. My favorite strap, 100%, is the torque strap, okay? The torque strap is fantastic. It's super easy to use. I got like 6 of these. They are great, okay? They're not designed for heavy hauling, so if you're gonna be strapping down a forklift or something like that, they have like heavier editions of those. Those are gonna be good for, I don't know, the brake strength on those, but really good on that. Okay, so those are the 2 reasons that I've been using it. Now, some other ancillary reasons that I've been using this cover, it has been for stuff like viewing fireworks, okay? We go to a field, we forget the lawn chairs, or the grass that we're in is full of a lot of like fleas or bugs or whatever. Imagine having just that much more height distance. I mean, bugs can still get to you, but you're not sitting directly in the grass. And you can just sit right on top of the cover and not even concern yourself with the possibility of having to worry about bugs or having to worry about anything like that. That's one of my favorite parts of this, is that it 100% can handle the weight of your entire family, okay? Unless y'all are like a bunch of big Samoans, you should be fine. All right, so that's a very, very big positive for me. Let me tell you some issues I've had with it in the last 5 years. I do not like having to, every few months, get inside of this bad boy and tighten the actual bolts that holds this thing, that hold the middle unit down. Now, you don't have to do it very often, but inside of here, there are those bolts right in there, kind of, sort of. You got to tighten those down. You just kind of got to get in there and make sure those stay tightened every, I would say every couple of months, okay? That's a very important thing that you want to do. That's a pain point for some. It's a pain point for me. Something to think about, okay? Now, this might be a symptom of having a lifted truck, right? I have a lifted truck, knobby 35-inch tires. Well, they ride pretty smooth to be concrete, but whatever. So maybe you won't have the same issue if you're on factory tires, non-lifted, whatever, but you have to check that every few months. Next problem I have is this underside part of this steel, crazy hot. Now the manufacturer can't control this, all right? They don't know that this is gonna be an issue, but all this underside, it is crazy hot, and I live in Texas, okay? So the reason I say that is because, not because you don't wanna touch it, of course you don't wanna touch it when it's hot, but if you wanna buy some of their accessories, like Diamondback sells like nets you can put under here, and I have a light under here, and it is, yesterday was 109 degrees, today we're expecting like 107 degrees. The accessories they sell under here, just some of them can't handle the heat. So if it's 109, underneath here, when the lid is closed and all the other shit with the heat, it's probably like 115. I mean, let me go get a matter of fact, I'll even measure the temperature just to see what the temperature is. All right, so if I measure this right now, we are 150 degrees, 130 degrees right there, 150 degrees. That's just crazy. Like, that's crazy that we're getting that hot of temperature. And that's what I mean by, like, you're not gonna want to touch this bad boy. So what that really means is that there's gonna be times when there's some accessories you just don't wanna put under here. You just saw me fix my battery. I have a light, the Diamondback light that they sell. It gets so hot that the circuit board and the paste that holds the battery compartment together, mine do come apart when it's very hot like this. Right now, my battery component is, the temperature is 142 degrees. So this can't hold up under that. And I do have to make small electrical repairs. It's not hard to do. It's literally just, well, seemingly their version of like line, load, and ground, but it's not hard to fix, but it is something that you have to think about. I bought the track rail system that you can put here. And when you buy this track rail system, this allows for you to put stuff like quick fist accessories on there. It's so hot, I don't like putting anything on there except for like my rifles, shovels, stuff like that. If you're gonna be putting more sensitive items on there, I just wouldn't recommend it, okay? So whenever I mount stuff on there, it's gonna be something like an AR, something that just doesn't give a F how hot it is. Make sure the scopes on your AR can handle it, but it's something to think about. Next, the headache rack. But I will say about the headache rack itself, I've had a couple of issues with mine. I installed mine correctly. Mine is taking a beating, okay? We're not gonna talk about some of the things that mine have gone through, but I would say that I think they have new editions of the headache rack, but this doesn't feel like the same gauge of steel. This steel right here on the headache rack doesn't feel like the same gauge of steel as the pleats. And what that really does is it reduces your tension points for being able to mount stuff to it. This is, like, you can kind of almost see right here, I've dented this over the years, right? And that's because I've tried to mount stuff to the headache rack, not realizing that the gauge of steel on the headache rack is not the same gauge of steel as the rest of the headache rack. So these inside, it's just not as strong. The rhino lining on is holding up well. I bought the headache rack 4 years ago. Everything is looking good. You can even see where like the paint is wearing off on the headache rack, whereas it's not wearing off on the pleats. It's a major difference, but these pleats are older than the pleats on the headache rack, but my headache rack pleats are looking a little bit different. So that's just something to think about. Also, I did have to replace my gas struts on the headache rack, okay? So when you get the headache rack, it instantly makes the factory struts not powerful enough to lift up this tail panel or this panel itself, okay? So I had to purchase first from Diamondback, and then eventually I made a purchase, a third-party purchase, because I wanted this to lift at a higher angle. I had to buy my own gas struts and install them because the factory struts just don't work. And I wish, if you're gonna be buying their headache rack, I think they should provide you the struts. It just kind of makes sense. I'm assuming nowadays they're a little bit different, but whatever. This, you can see some of the rigging up I've had to do. Actually here, you can see some of the rigging up I've had to do over the years of these batteries, of the lights, because it just gets so hot that these things, they're tough. But you can see the component here, how they work. When you close this, you actually twist the you twist this out, and it's actually what allows for your bed, for the tails to lock. So mine doesn't have the safety bar on it anymore because I'm using different size struts than came factory. But you do want to make sure you put the safety bar on there and the safety latch. I have the safety latch, but not the bar. So that's something to think about. So I think those are my cons. Let's just glaze it up for the rest of the video. So easy to use. One hand throwing up. I can't tell you how many times I've had something in my hand. I need to quickly just throw these. Now these back struts are factory. The front struts are the ones I purchased. I can't tell how many times I've had something in my hand. I need to just throw this up, get in there real quick, do my thing. It always just works. These struts have been holding up specifically for 5 years. They've been doing great. Everything's been good to go. I can appreciate stuff like that. When my truck bed is open, this grab makes it just that much easier to pull it down and re-engage with it. And that just makes it very easy. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, these pleats are some of the most well-designed systems I've seen for hauling crap that I've seen on a tonneau cover ever. And it just makes it so you can just tie all sorts of crap to this thing, and they're really good. The weather sealing, I have not had to change one time since 2021. I got a little bit of cracking going on in a couple of places, but I, for the most part, do not get water in the bed of my truck. I just don't. I'm talking about going 70 miles an hour in the rain. I'm talking about my truck being parked here and it just pissing the rain directly on my vehicle. I have not had issues with getting water. Here's another little crack right here inside of my truck. So I like that. The customer service with Diamondback is phenomenal. I had some damage happen with my, the insertion for my panel, and they just sent me out new ones. Okay, I didn't even have to give them all sorts of explanation. Each of these panels do have serial numbers on them. So I sent them my serial number. They just sent me out new ones, no issues whatsoever. The customer service from when I was installing this for the very first time, phenomenal. If you do get one of these covers, some of your best friends is going to be kettlebells or something similar like that, okay? So if you're looking for some weight to hold this down while you are getting the weather strip lined up, while you're tightening the middle section for the panels, like, your best friend is going to be kettlebells to hold these panels, these corners in place while you're using this. And for me, I like the height. I mean, I can fit Yeti coolers, Igloo coolers, boxes. There's very rarely a time where I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make that happen because of the height. Now, everybody's height's gonna be different. I don't want to say, well, the exact measurement is blah, 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 because I drive a 2015 GMC Sierra. So my height, this is gonna be similar to Silverados, other Sierras, but it's gonna be different from a Canyon or F-150 or a Ram or whatever. So I got plenty of distance for being able to slide in and out boxes, slide in and out lots of different size trash. Everything seems to work really well for me. The grip on the Rhino lining, the stuff is holding up really well. They sent me a touch-up kit years ago because I have some scratches, not a ton, but just a few scratches on my cover. But I mean, even those scratches that you kind of see there in the middle, I kind of like the character that it defines my cover as having, right? So when you see I have scratches on top of mine, I kind of feel like it's like a little badge of honor, right? It's kind of nice to be able to have that. When you pair this with something like my Built Right Industries Molly panels that I installed inside of this truck, which we'll do I think a 4-year review on those. I've had these for a while. This makes it like the ultimate system for not just everyday tasks, going to your stores, your grocery stores, your Dick's Sporting Goods, sports events, T-ball games, but also making this a viable safety survival emergency vehicle. Inside of my vehicle, I'm able to have stuff in here like a fire extinguisher that can withstand temperatures up to 200 degrees. That's why I can have it in the bed of my high-ass truck. I can have a hatchet back here or a full-size axe back here. I can have stuff back here such as a get-home kit, emergency kits, trauma kits. All that stuff works well because of the combination of the two. So the price point 5 years ago, I think I spent around $2,000 on this. I don't know how much it is nowadays, but for something built in America, made in America, by Americans, with American customer support, I think that there are now competitors on the market which will give you similar safety performance. I'm not really sure like how many are up to these standards, but if you can swing it, I would always recommend the HD series more than the SD series, more than the switch back or flip up, whatever they call it, when it flips up and does all that stuff. I think this one, it gives you the most bang for your buck. And I also recommend a headache rack. Even if you can't get the one that I have, get their current version of the headache rack, whatever the hell that is right now. Both of those just kind of make this combination God. I absolutely love my Diamondback. I like the fact that they really went through, they really innovated, in my opinion. I think that this is something that was needed on the market when it came out in, you know, the 2010s era, and they've done nothing but make it that much better. You know, I have a 6'6" bed, so a 6.5 foot bed. I think mine looks really good on a standard bed. It looks good on a short bed. I do think it looks a little weird on the long beds. But, you know, I just think long beds look a little weird because they're 8 feet. They just look a little weird to me. But overall, I can't recommend it enough. You've heard my gripes, moans, and complaints. I don't even think that the price is that bad because if you think about it, if I paid $2 grand 5 years ago, I feel like I've gotten just so much value out of that $400 a year that I'm spending on something like this for the protection for my golf clubs, for brand new TVs that I've purchased, for pool equipment, for chemicals, for things that I just go inside of a NASCAR stadium, go inside of a concert venue, go inside, leaving my wife's purse back here, giving that peace of mind, thinking like, okay, a thief can still get back here. Somebody wants to get back here and rock and roll, especially if if you leave these unlocked, they're gonna get back there pretty easily. But they can still get back here. But if you lock it and they figure out it's locked, unless they know what's in there, they're probably gonna move on, okay? Whereas if you're trying to put something in the back of an SUV and just cover it with those janky covers that they keep in SUVs, I mean, it may work, but you know, crackheads are crazy. Crackheads break your window and do what they gotta do. All right, first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.